Welcome to the Discovery Within podcast, where we explore the depths of self discovery and personal growth. I'm your host, Tiarra Denise.
And I'm your co host, LJ the PeaceMaker. And we're so excited that you're joining us for episode 19. And today we're going to be talking about self talk, a friend in you. And I mean, this is a very important topic. I feel like I always say something of that nature because all the topics are important. That's why we pick them. But I mean, self talk is really the thing that's either going to make you or break you. So I'm excited for us to really explore that.
Absolutely. So, this topic is, I think it's going to be one of my favorites because I specialize in self talk. And I really think it's a good thing, like for the collective, because just like our previous episode when we was talking about life is crazy, you be even crazier and stuff. I think sometimes when people think of self talk, they think of just talking to yourself, which that's a part of it, but most people don't even realize or they aren't aware that you talk to yourself daily, whether you're aware of it or not. You got to think about when you're sitting alone with yourself, when you're in certain environments, situations, the thoughts and stuff that come across your mind and stuff. So that counts as self talk too, whether you know it or not. But for some of us, just understanding how self talk can really shape and bring the foundation of the direction of our lives and how we see ourselves and how we feel about ourselves and being rooted in who we are. It's important that we are aware of the things that we're feeding ourselves, the things that we're saying to ourselves, not just verbally saying it, but things we're saying when we're having certain thoughts. And like for a long time, since I've been a little girl, I can remember I've always been one for, talking to myself. I didn't care where I was. I always do my own thing. I may go off somewhere by myself. I may go outside because I love nature. I'll be out there talking. I'll be out there singing. I'll be out there performing or whatever. I'll be having a whole conversation with myself as if somebody is sitting there with me. But like as a child, you don't got to care in the world. You're just you. You're not thinking of how you appear to the world, like what's people gonna think of me if they see me doing this. You just do you. And I've been caught a couple of times where, people walked up on me as a child and they'd be like, girl, what you doing? And I just proceed and go on about my business. But it's like things like that, like you can look at the things from your childhood and how you used to be with yourself. And it's like getting back to that childlike essence, that you had when you were a child. Like it never leaves you, but it's still within you. But I think some of us we don't remember it or utilize it in our everyday lives because it is a part of us. And like you said in the title, it's like it's about having a friend in you. And on this channel we always say that you are the only person that's going to spend the rest of your life with you. So you want to ask yourself, how do you feel about yourself? What do I want to, how do I feel about myself? What am I saying to myself? What type of thoughts do I want to be thinking? And things of that nature. So when you're aware of that and you're becoming your own best friend, you're really becoming your own everything. Not just your friend. In adulthood, you become your own counselor, your own partner, your own everything because in this society, most of us are used to looking outside of ourselves for answers, looking outside of ourselves for comfort, like words of encouragement, motivation, inspiration. But when you are a friend to yourself and you do these things for yourself, you motivate yourself, then that sets the tone with all the other things that comes in your life. So when other people do come to you with words of encouragement, it only adds to what you already have within yourself. But I'll put a pin in that and then I'll just let you build off that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, self talk is a given. So it's not a question of, oh, do I talk to myself? Maybe we're not necessarily talking out loud to ourselves, But there's always this inner dialogue going. You know what I mean? You're having thoughts, you're processing them, you're responding to them to yourself. Maybe you see a situation and it's like, you're like, I'm scared of that. Oh, I can't do that. That's self talk. You know what I mean? That's you disempowering yourself through that self talk. So it's important for us to recognize that self talk is a given. So we have to get very clear on, how am I talking to myself? Am I building myself up, or am I tearing myself down? Am I encouraging myself and motivating myself, or am I discouraging myself? And a lot of times our self-talk is developed through what other people were saying to us. You know what I mean? Maybe our mother's voice growing up, our parents, family members, things of that nature. But at the end of the day, if we want to decide who well, not even if we want to, we're the one who gets to decide who we're going to be. You know what I mean? So we're the one who has to develop the character of the person that we want to be. And that's all cultivated through self-talk. And it's like exercise. You know, if I want to be in great shape, I got to go and lift the weights. I got to go put the reps in. And with self-talk, you got to be the one encouraging yourself, motivating yourself, because that's how you develop the character of the person that you want to be. You know what I mean? Nobody else can do that for you. And granted, you know, we oftentimes seek outside validation. And don't get me wrong, it feels good when people give you praise and encouragement and things of that nature. And sometimes somebody gives you a word just when you needed it, and it uplifts you. But at the end of the day, you're the only one who knows what's going on with you at every given moment. And so you're always with yourself. You have to be the one to build yourself up. And that's what we're looking for. We're out here looking for somebody to constantly encourage us, constantly believe in us, constantly motivate us. And you're the one. You know what I mean? That's why people always let us down when we're seeking it outside of ourselves, because it's intended for us to be our own best friend, for us to be our own biggest advocate. And it's like, if you don't believe in yourself, then it doesn't matter who else believes in you, because whatever they say from the outside is going to come up against your own negative self-talk or defeating self-talk. And so it's so important for us to really start paying attention. Wait, how am I talking to myself? When I make a mistake, what do I say to myself? Am I like, oh, you such an idiot, you always making mistakes, things of that nature? Or am I saying, you tried your best, it's all right, things happen, try again later? And, you know, doing things to feed yourself to keep going, because this life is a journey and a process. And if we're not encouraging ourselves to keep going, then what's the point? You know what I mean? Then we all just might as well give up and quit. And at the end of the day, all these skills that are will allow you to achieve success in whatever form it takes for you are cultivated from the inside. Patience, positive attitude, you know what I mean, courage, things of that nature are all cultivated through your self-talk. So it's important for us to face whatever it is that we're confronted with and talk ourselves through it, because nobody else can talk you through what's going on in your head. And at the end of the day, you're already talking to yourself. So what are you saying? Say things that are positive, that are beneficial. I mean, one of the things I say in the mornings is that something wonderful is going to happen to me today. Everywhere I look, I see miracles and blessings. And granted, maybe I see them, maybe I don't see them, but I'm setting that foundation into motion and fostering that belief system in myself. And our belief systems are founded on the things that we're repeatedly saying to ourselves. You know what I mean? So even with like affirmations and mantras, things like that, that's all self-talk. Why do you think you're saying them to yourself? Who are you saying it to? To yourself. You know what I mean? And those are a helpful tool in cultivating positive self-talk. But it's really about having these things in your back pocket because you've been saying them to yourself. So that way, when you need them, they come up. You know, so when you're in a jam, you remember, I've been saying every day, I believe in myself, I have what it takes. And so you therefore start encouraging yourself when things look a little bit discouraging, because you're the only one who can do that.
Yes. And you know, we say it all the time, like all this stuff that we may be looking outside of ourselves for is really an inside job. So when it comes to, you know, stepping into a positive light, believing in yourself, trusting yourself, all of that, it requires you to, you know, have crazy courage, strength, faith within yourself. to be able to, reframe or shift the negative thoughts that you have about yourself. And like just even thinking about like where do we even learn like negative self-talk, because you got negative self-talk and then you got positive self-talk. So just thinking about the negative self-talk, we got to think about where do we learn these things, like the patterns. Like most of us, it comes, the negative self-talk that we have comes from early, on in our childhood, development and stuff, where you may have had parents that may have criticized you for so-called messing up or doing certain things, and things like that stick with us as we go into adulthood. But we know on Discovery Within podcast, yes, we all go through things. We go through different type of traumas. We've seen different patterns, but as an adult, you come into your own and you begin to be the leader of your life, and you have to be the one that makes those changes of the things that were negative back in the past. So early on, it may come from the different criticisms and the people around us, the adults, the environments that we were in, and how they talk to others, how they talk to us, and sometimes we didn't have that positive influence in our lives to show us what positive self-talk looks like. Because I know for me, I've seen it plenty of times where like you have parents who may say certain things to their kids. I don't know, because we can't even really sugarcoat this stuff, like within like family dynamics and stuff, how parents talk to their children. Because some people talk very negative towards their children. They talk down on them. They don't speak life into them. Just say like for instance with the dynamics with mothers and fathers who have children together, but the family is split. The mother and father no longer together. The mother may not like the father. The father may not be too fond of the mother, and they have a child. And then the child displays certain behaviors and patterns, and the mom may say, "Oh, you just like your daddy," and stuff like that because you do certain things. So now you're looking at yourself from the projections that your parent is giving you. And so now you're looking at yourself like, dang, my mom's not happy. My dad messed up. So if I'm behaving this way, then that means I'm just like my dad. And I don't want to be this way, because to be, compared to my dad, that's a bad thing. And so you got to think about things like that. And so now we become critical of ourselves. Now that criticism that we're getting from the outside world is now, we're now doing that internally. So every time we're making a move or something, and we do something where it's not something that our parent may have wanted us to do, and they say something to us, now we're beating ourselves up, and now we're saying things like, "Oh, I messed up. I'm always messing up. I just can't do nothing right." And that's the type of self-talk that we give ourselves, and it's so disempowering. And I see it because this still goes on to this day with parents and their dynamics with their children, where they're talking down on their children, not speaking life into them, just saying anything in them to just tear them down. And as a parent, it's your job to make sure that you're showing your child the way, not just providing a roof over their head and stuff like that, because that's something you're supposed to do anyway. You got children, you made them, you want to keep the lights on, you got to keep food in the house, whatever. But that's just what you're supposed to do anyway as a parent. But we're talking about their development, like that development with self-talk, that relationship that they have with their self, cultivating a positive inner dialogue. Those are things we have to teach our children as well. But when we're talking at them and we're saying these negative things, we're not speaking life into them. We're criticizing them for every little thing that they're doing, because we don't feel like it's ideal for what we think they should be doing, or whatever behaviors they're displaying, or whatever matters or grievances we got with the parents or whoever. We're putting this onto them, and now they're taking these same patterns and things into their adulthood, and they're not being equipped with what it is to have a friend within yourself. And it's because they haven't been shown what it is to really be rooted in self, to really love yourself, to really like yourself, and to, just really just be your own friend. And so now when we have these thoughts and we're constantly saying these things to ourselves, sometimes we get in these negative emotions where we're feeling down on ourselves, or whatever emotion that you're feeling. And we're not even aware of like where these things are coming from. And like you were saying, like with the affirmations, that's a powerful thing, because those are ways that you could, alchemize those thoughts when they come through, those negative thoughts that you have. Instead of, criticizing yourself, have self-compassion for yourself. Even if you did feel like you messed up or you failed at something, it's all in how you speak to yourself. What do you tell yourself when these things come up? Because what you say and what you think is what you normally believe about yourself. And then the more that you think it, that's what it's gonna be. So it's like you said, when you have those positive affirmations, it's like speaking positivity to yourself, like affirming yourself, like I can do this. Even if you do mess up, having those set of affirmations for whatever area you feel like you're struggling in is gonna be a great way to empowering yourself. And to most people, this shit sounds corny. Cause who really wants to just sit there and say positive affirmations to themselves? Because it's something to some people that's unheard of. If they were to see a random person on the street just talking to themselves, affirming themselves, I am worthy, it may look crazy to the average person because the average person is not really aware that they're even having these negative thoughts about themselves. But when you're someone who does the affirmations, you say it, you're loud and proud about it, and you begin to, go through this process where you're affirming yourself. At first it seems like redundant. It's like, what am I really doing? Because that was me before my own journey with that thing. And even still to this day, sometimes I may divert. I have to catch myself. But one thing about it, when you are in those negative thoughts and you have that negative self-talk about yourself, it's not a time to beat up on yourself. Because
Right.
like we say, we all in our own lane, and sometimes we swerve. But you can always get back right. You can always get back in your lane. But it's about cultivating self-compassion for yourself, and also like reparenting yourself. That's another aspect of like that self-talk. So that's a way that really helps me. And I didn't even think about that because I think that's a big part, like in my adulthood, of like my self talk. It's about like reparenting myself because when you become the leader of your own life, you're thriving in your authenticity. You know who you are. You get to look back at your past and see where certain things you probably didn't like from the past, like how you were raised, certain things you wish you could have gotten from your parents. When you step into your adulthood, you start to do those things for yourself. So certain ways I wish I had been taught, back then, like I wish my mama had said this to me. I wish my dad had said this. Instead of doing all that wishing, I do that for myself now. Because there's no better time like the present. What you can look, we can't get back the past, we can't do none of that. But what you can do right now for yourself is so much empowering than what you could ever get from anyone else outside of yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's so powerful because at the end of the day, it's like if you feeling bad, you're the one feeling bad. Nobody else is feeling bad. If you don't like yourself, you're the one that don't like yourself. Nobody else is worried about that. And so if you're uncomfortable or unhappy in these situations, then it's up to you to do something about it for yourself. And a lot of people are walking around and they don't like themselves. They don't believe in themselves. And we're in a relationship with ourselves. We may not realize it. We may think relationships are only with people outside of ourselves, but no, you're in a relationship with yourself. A lot of people don't trust themselves. That's cultivated from experiences where you feel like you let yourself down. So why don't you start pouring into yourself where you start building yourself up? Start establishing a healthy relationship with yourself. And you mentioned speaking life. And it's like that's really what it comes down to because we're either speaking life or speaking death. It's one or the other. So how are you speaking to yourself? Are you speaking life to yourself? Are you seeking to establish a healthy relationship with yourself so that you can go forward and accomplish the things that you want to accomplish? Because if you don't believe in yourself, then you're never going to achieve anything. But the thing is, you can cultivate this. It comes through this self-talk. It comes through this daily practice of repeating the affirmations, deciding what you want, counteracting the negative self-talk. Because you can begin there. What are the negative things you're saying to yourself? And then you replace them with something positive, with something empowering, something that makes you feel good when you say it, And I know when I began on this journey, one of the things that really helped me with self-talk was I have read that if you're not going to say it to somebody you care about, why are you saying it to yourself? And that was so profound to me, because I feel like I had one set of rules when I was talking to other people and a whole different set of rules for myself. Like, I could beat myself up. I'm not going to do that to other people. But then it's like, I'm never going to get anywhere if I keep beating myself up. Life is already hard. Other people are already trying to beat you up. Why am I joining in that fight? You know what I mean? If I'm fighting, I should be fighting for me, fighting to help myself and fighting to build myself up. And, the thing is that we don't pay close enough attention to ourselves and to what we're doing and saying, so it's like we have to slow down, take a moment, pay attention when we're not feeling okay. What are we saying to ourselves in those moments? And you also mentioned about having compassion for ourselves. That's really the key, recognizing that it's all okay. We're not out here like, oh, let me make 25 mistakes today. Let me do everything wrong today. No, you're trying your best, and these are the things that we have to tell ourselves. It's all right. You tried your best. Get up and try again. It's like the little engine that could, I think I can. And it's for us to really establish that sort of relationship with ourselves. And I know for me, I've taken a stand against speaking against myself. Like, I don't speak against myself. I do not engage in it. I am extremely vigilant about it. I don't care. I don't care what happened. I'm figuring out how to be kind with myself, how to support myself, because the objective is to keep going, to complete the mission. I must complete the mission. And with that, I mean my destiny. You know what I mean? And if I'm out here beating myself up every day, how am I going to complete the mission? You can't. You'd be exhausted. You'd be beat up because you've been beating yourself up. So it's for us to really speak life to ourselves and find ways to encourage ourselves so that we can keep going. And some days, maybe you don't feel like it. Maybe you don't feel up to it, or you don't feel at your best, and that's okay. But the objective is to do whatever is necessary for yourself in that moment, so that the next day you can get up empowered, so that you can keep on going, because life is a journey and it's long. You know what I mean? From some aspects, it's short, but in other ways, it's very long, and we want to finish the race, and we want to finish it strong. So we have to be able to have a healthy relationship with ourselves, where we're encouraging ourselves, where we're motivating ourselves, because your relationship with yourself is your main relationship in life. You will never achieve anything if you're not believing in yourself, if you're not pouring into yourself, if you're not educating yourself, if you're not taking time to invest in yourself, if you're not giving yourself rest. This is all about the self. You know what I mean? And you're the one that manages how you treat yourself. And so this self-talk is one of the main ways that you do that, by encouraging yourself and being gentle and kind with yourself, because everything that we experience is really the outpicturing of what's going on in us, and so it's like it's reflecting back at us what we're doing on the inside. And in order to manifest and even attract positive things to you, you have to cultivate a positive environment on the inside of you. And you do that through self-talk, through speaking words of life to yourself, telling yourself you are wonderful. It's okay. I believe in you. Oh, you tired? Go take a nap, sweetheart. You know what I mean? Real gentle. And, sometimes, like you were saying, it may sound silly. It may sound ridiculous. But at the end of the day, that's how you build these muscles. That's how you become resilient. That's how you become empowered to keep going. You know what I mean? That's why you see some people that accomplish these great feats, because they've cultivated a positive self-talk with their self. They like, you got it. Keep going. Don't worry about that. Or what they said about you, they don't know nothing. Or whatever the case. You know what I mean? Not letting what people are saying from the outside, or things going on the outside, come in and start creating what you think and how you talk to yourself. Nobody or anything should be given that much power over you. You have complete control over yourself, but it's about acknowledging that and beginning with this inner dialogue, because the way that we think and the beliefs that we hold come from these things that we're repeatedly saying to ourselves. So if you don't like how you thinking and how you feeling, then you can change it. And it all starts with this positive self-talk and making it a daily practice and being very intentional about it.
You just said a whole word with all that. And I like the example that you use with Little Engine That Could, because that made me think about my childhood. I don't remember too much of the Little Engine That Could, but I remember you said, I think I can, I think I can. Then the little engine changed, so I know I can, I know I can. It comes from you just thinking something to you knowing, but it comes with that cultivation. Because first off, it's gonna come like, I think I can do this. I mean, I don't really know, but as you keep going and you keep adding, you strengthening that muscle, that building that resilience, it comes to that I know what I can do. Even if at that moment you like, woo, this is like an obstacle right here, but I know I'll be able to get through it. I don't know how, but with that positive self-talk, when you're grounded and you're rooted in yourself and you just know, it turns from thinking to knowing, and that in itself is empowering. But like you said, it's like when you have to, have this dialogue with yourself, because that relationship with yourself is the most important relationship in your life, because you're gonna be with you for the rest of your life. Nobody else have to be with you. You inside this body, this mind, everything, you with it all day, every day. So how do you want to spend your time with it? What types of conversations, what type of dialogue do you want to have with yourself? Do you really rock with yourself? Because the thoughts that you have and the things you say out your mouth really do determine where you are with yourself. It really does. And like, I had to learn that on my journey. But for me, I like to use like real life examples, because you got to think about things like people that may have had failed relationships or something that came from toxic relationships. And one thing I hear a lot when I see like couples and people going back and forth about relationships, they speak from this place of like these emotional triggers when they see or hear certain things online. So I notice like things when I'm navigating, like social media and stuff. And like for one thing I'm noticing with men is some men may have had a toxic relationship and to them the relationship failed or whatever, and they still carry on that baggage from the relationship that they had with their partner. Because I even seen where one guy was talking about his girlfriend didn't speak life into him. She was always yelling, cursing, saying like derogatory things and just like tear his spirit down and stuff like that. And things that'll tear a person's ego down. Stuff I won't repeat, but petty things people.
I can imagine.
Like people will go low, talk about your mama, talk about your male, stuff like that. So those are just like examples. And I'm noticing like that dynamic with people. I'm like, okay, sometimes it's hard for people to let go of certain types of patterns and stuff because they're used to a certain thing. So they take like what was said to them in previous relationships or failed relationships, and they internalize those things. So they may get triggered because they're still angry at these past people for the things that they said to them. Now, had they been rooted within themselves and known themselves and had that positive inner dialogue, like, I know me, you can say what you want about me, it wouldn't penetrate them. But I'm noticing it's like you said, most people don't love themselves. Most people do not like themselves. They don't have this relationship internally with themselves. So it's easy for them to get triggered by things that people outside of them say to them. And like when you allow the words, the opinions, the criticism of other people to penetrate you to the point where you're now questioning who you are, and it just puts you in this place where you're emotionally triggered and you lashing out or whatever, that's a clear sign that the relationship with self needs to be worked on. You need to cultivate a more healthier relationship with yourself, because to let criticism from other people or opinions, judgments, or whatever penetrate you to that point where you're not yourself. You're not confident in yourself. And I've seen it. A lot of people, their confidence, it takes a knock to their confidence because they're holding on to the opinions, the judgments that came from people outside. And it may have been people that were close to them, loved ones. But when you hold on to those things and you're not rooted in your own power and your own self-worth, you question yourself with a lot of things. You often question yourself, am I even worthy of certain things? Like if you say you want this job, am I even worthy of this? Because my last job, my previous boss told me I wasn't going to amount to nothing. I'm sorry, I'm lazy, all this. And you internalize this stuff and you go to the next job. And you may get an opportunity to get what you want. The opportunity is right there in your face, but because you're holding on to what others may have said to you or how they perceive you, now you're questioning yourself. Well, they did say this, so am I worthy of this new beginning for myself? And you really rob yourself from actually experiencing the things, cultivating the relationships, jobs, whatever it is that you desire, because you don't have that self-worth. You don't feel that you're worthy. And it's like when you hear someone tell you to affirm yourself, meaning speak life into yourself, and you show like, hell yeah, I'm worthy of this. I deserve this. You're gonna get to that point where you're so sure of yourself, and it requires you to be sure of yourself. And to be sure of yourself means looking yourself in the mirror. You ain't necessarily got to look in the mirror, but that's just one of the practices you can do. That's one I do. But you can just sit wherever you are. Stop and talk to yourself. Have a meeting with yourself. No matter where you are, when you feel yourself feeling triggered or going down those certain paths where you're questioning yourself or you're feeling unworthy of yourself, just put pause for a second. Press pause and assess yourself. Where is this coming from? Hold up. We not doing this. We on a new path. I'm worthy. I'm worthy of this. I deserve this. I love myself. I'm abundant. Whatever it is, whatever you have to, say to yourself, make sure you're speaking that to yourself and don't necessarily look for it from someone else to tell you that, because people can tell you that stuff, but it doesn't really, hold. I'm not going to say it doesn't hold weight, but it's not really going to stick like it would as if you were telling yourself, because you are the foundation to all relationships outside of yourself. So the relationship with yourself is going to be the determining factor of how the other relationships outside of yourself will be. It's like you said, that outer world is a direct reflection of what's going on in the inner world. So if your outer world, you complain about it, you don't like it, you feel like, oh, this is not the move, this is not it. What are you doing? You got to assess that inner world. Okay, now hold up now. What I'm thinking about on a daily basis. What does my mind go to? Where does my mind drift out to? What am I even saying to myself? What am I, putting in my, auric field? What am I looking at? What am I listening to? You got to look at that stuff. It's a self-assessment every day. And it becomes a daily practice for yourself. And it's like you said, you have certain affirmations that you say for yourself when you wake up in the morning. It could be as simple as having you some morning routines, rituals, whatever you want to call it, where you get up, you go look yourself in the mirror, you say your affirmations or whatever. Anything that's going to help you to, solidify and cultivate that relationship with yourself, but it takes you starting to do those things. So you got to find, what works for you. Because what works for one person may not work for the next person. So you got to figure out what's going to be that practice that you do for yourself to make sure that you're checking in with yourself, to make sure that you being your own best friend. Or you need, like that listening ear, that motivational person. And you like, well, I don't got this. Well, you have you.
Right, you got you, and you got the Discovery with Them podcast. We on episode 19.
It's like episode 19. We here for you, but when we not around, you with you. And that's what people have to think about, because it's like we always look outside of ourselves like, oh, I don't have this. I don't have a strong support system. You got you, don't you? Are you telling me you aren't worth anything? The support you have within yourself, you mean to tell me you're going to put up the support from others outside of yourself above yourself? Those are questions you have to ask yourself. And when you start supporting yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, in whatever way that you need support, once you start pouring into yourself, and it starts with those thoughts that you have about yourself. Your thoughts are powerful, because what you're thinking and what you're saying, what they say, the tongue is powerful. You're manifesting these things when you thinking it. When it come out your mouth, you can't take it back. You don't put it out there into the universe. So now that's what it is. When you thinking it and you're constantly thinking it repeatedly, You ain't doing nothing but bringing the negativity to yourself. So you got to ask yourself, like, what do I want? How do I want to feel? What do I desire? How do I feel about myself? Ask yourself those things. Talk to yourself. Get to know yourself on a deeper level. And that's what we mean when we say the discovery within. Is you have to discover these things about yourself. You ain't gonna be able to discover it looking outside yourself all the time. You looking at someone else, we can sit up here, we can give you the sauce, we can give you the recipe, but it's not gonna stick until you have that experience with yourself. We could talk about our experiences, but what's yours? You are the foundation.
Yes. 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 I mean, that's so profound because, you know, we have a tendency to look outside of ourselves for the support and for these things. And it's like, at the end of the day, people they don't know who you are. They don't really know what you're made of. You know what I mean? And whatever they have to offer to you is based on who they think you are in their own mind, what they think about you, what they perceive to be true of you. They don't know the true core. You know, that's why you're on a journey of self-discovery to discover it for yourself. And when you're in a situation or when you're in a dark place or you need some motivation and some encouragement, it doesn't matter who comes along. They might not know what to say to you. They may say something that sends you deeper down the path that you're on. Only you know exactly what you need to hear. Say it to yourself. And just like you said, ask yourself questions. What would really uplift me at this moment? What is the word that I want to hear? And start saying that to yourself. You know what I mean? Because only you know what you need to hear, what you want to hear, what you or were wishing somebody would say to you. You the one, say it to yourself. Because it will impact you so much deeper when it's coming from yourself. When you're looking yourself in the mirror, granted, like you said, you don't have to look in the mirror, but there's something very powerful about looking into your own eyes and telling your own self that I believe in you, that I got your back, that everything's going to be all right. I know that it's been hard, but we're going to make it. You know, there's something so empowering about that. And it really does begin to cultivate this self-belief, this belief in yourself that, you know what, I do got my back. I do ride for me. And at the end of the day, that's the main person you need to ride for you. Because it doesn't matter what somebody else is trying to do for you. Like you said, if you're not grabbing hold of those opportunities, if you're not believing it's for you, you're not believing you're worthy, you're going to reject any good thing that comes towards you. Or you may misinterpret it. You know, so it's really for you to believe in yourself and know that you're the one that has to pour into yourself. Nobody else can do it for you. This is your life. And only you know what's going on in your head. And it's for you to counteract those things. And so it's important also to recognize about like duality. You know, so there's a positive and a negative that exists with everything. So whatever the negative thoughts are that you're thinking, you can flip them to something positive. And I mean, that's one of the practices I utilize. I call it overstanding. And so it's like, I noticed certain patterns about myself, negative self-talk, and I would just flip it over. So if I was saying, oh, I'm not smart, then I would say, I'm absolutely intelligent. You know what I mean? Just give the opposite of it. Just flip it over and begin pouring that into yourself. It's very simple because at the end of the day, that's going to counteract that negative thought. If you keep repeating it to yourself enough, then you will begin to foster that belief. And belief is going to lead to action. You know what I mean? If you believe something, you believe something's for you. If I believe that I'm intelligent, then maybe I'm going to go start reading books. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to go back to school. It's for you to decide what that looks like for you, but recognizing that the opposite of whatever negative self-talk you're having with yourself, the opposite of that exists, the positive side. So you don't got to go around searching, whoa, how do I start talking to myself positive? Just flip over the things that you've been saying to yourself that are negative and go to the positive aspect. And it's just as simple as that. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times we trip ourselves up thinking, how do I start this? Oh, that's not going to work for me. And all of that is self-defeating self-talk, because this is how humans are designed. We are designed to speak things into existence, You know what I mean? We're speaking things into ourselves. We're forming all these beliefs. Our beliefs are fostered by the things we're exposing ourselves to and repeatedly ingesting. And so we can transform a mindset. We can transform a behavior. And we do that through this self talk. You know what I mean? It's so, so important to recognize how we talk about ourselves. What do we believe about ourselves? And acknowledge that everything is subject to change. So no matter where you are, you can begin to cultivate this positive self-talk, this positive relationship with yourself, so that you can go forward empowered, and so that you can relinquish some of that pain and some of that old baggage that you're holding on to. Because just as you were mentioning about the situation with the brother in a relationship, and that left a negative impact on him, and a negative impact of women and just all these things. And it's like, why should one person that you were in a relationship with be allowed to form your opinion of the rest of humanity? Like, how dare they? You know what I mean? I don't think like you wish. No, that ain't it. It's for you to recognize that person was that's how they behaved. You sat there and allowed this treatment of yourself, and start asking yourself, why did I allow that treatment? Because at the end of the day, we think we're mad at the other person, but really we're mad at ourselves because we sat there too long. That's really what it is. And we begin to create this negative self-image because we like, oh yeah, this is what I get, oh this and that. And it's like, no, that's not what you get. That's what you allowed at that time. But today's a new day. Don't allow that no more. Let's go figure out a new path, a new way to behave. What is it that you really want? You know what I mean? And a lot of times we sit in negative situations or allow negative treatment of ourselves because we're not even clarifying within ourselves, what do we really want? Because if you sit down and you ask yourself what you really want, it'll get clearer and clearer that this ain't it. You know what I mean? And you get up and remove yourself from the area. And recognizing it's as simple as that with regards to your relationship with yourself. A lot of people don't like their self. And it's important to just sit down and assess, okay, if I don't like myself, then what would I like? What would I like to be? If I liked myself, I would look like this. And start figuring out what that is and begin to cultivate those habits. Because if what you desire is to be somebody in good shape, I always use the exercise example. I don't know why, but just because it's so easy. You know what I mean? If you desire that and you've clearly identified it, now the next thing is to start encouraging yourself to take action in that direction. And you do that through the self-talk. Once we identify a negative, then it makes it that much easier to identify the positive. And once you identify, okay, this is negative, I'm not going to do that no more. Let me turn it into the positive, and you begin to encourage yourself and have positive self-talk with regards to it, then it automatically over time turns into action. Next thing you know, you're doing it. Next thing you know, you are the person that you wanted to be, and now you like you. You know what I mean? And granted, it don't happen overnight, but you can begin overnight. You could begin in a split second. You know what I mean? All it takes is a moment to make a decision to go in a new direction. And even that begins with self-talk, saying, I'm not going to do this no more. Instead, I'm going to do this. And the thing is, a lot of times we don't recognize that we have to decide what the new thing is that we're going to do. Because if I'm in a position and I'm unhappy with what's going on, and I just keep identifying, I don't like it, and I'm not recognizing what I'm going to do different, then I'm going to stay in that same situation. So, it's important for us to sit down, have this inner dialogue. Okay, I don't like this, but what do I want? And start moving in that direction. Okay, I like this. Or, okay, I'm going to give myself time to sit and just brainstorm. What do I want? What do I want this to be? Because even that in and of itself is positive action. And it's cultivating positive self-talk because you're giving room in your day to what you want, to yourself, to having a conversation with yourself, to checking in with yourself. And I mean, it ultimately is being mindful, paying attention. Hey, this don't feel good. What would feel good? And it's ask yourself the questions. Ask and it will be given. And that don't mean that the thing you're asking for is going to be given. it mostly means that the answer will be given, so you'll know what to do next.
Absolutely. And when you were saying like it could all be so simple. It really is a simple thing, but you know, us as humans, we have this thing of making things more complicated and harder than what it has to be. And like even just saying it out your mouth that something is hard, there you go, boom. Now you finna
Right.
just create all types of stuff that just makes it seem impossible when anything is possible. But it's like we can get so comfortable with the norms of our behaviors and certain patterns because that's what we're used to. It's so easy to just say these things that just roll off our tongue with no awareness, no consciousness of what we're even saying. And I see it so, and I see and I hear it so many times, you know, like even with your loved ones, people you're connected to, and they say disempowering things out their mouth, you just be like, "Ooh, you know what? Let me just step this way because I don't want to get none of that on me." And you know, but it could really be simple, but it's like you said, it takes you, you know, cultivating some new norms for you, looking in that mirror, doing whatever you have to do to, you know, get yourself to that point of having that positive self-talk. But it's like when you're a person that's so used to looking outside of yourself and you can tell everything about what somebody else got going on, what they doing, how they shouldn't be doing, they should do it this way and stuff like that. And it's like you're not even looking within and you don't even know what you want. But you're gonna tell somebody else what they may want for their life, what they should be doing. You don't even know what you want for you. That's an imbalance. That's an imbalance, and it's a sign that you need to come home to yourself, within yourself, and have a conversation with you. But then, like when you was talking, it just came to my mind when you was like things could be so simple and stuff like that. You know, like how your mama or your big mama, your grandma or someone used to say, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. That applies to self. Apply that to self. Don't it doesn't have to even be about someone outside of you. Let that be about yourself. If you don't have nothing nice or nothing good, positive to say to yourself or about yourself, don't say nothing at all. Don't speak these things out your mouth if it's nothing positive about yourself. Because when you go within, you become the leader of your life, you're not going to speak like that about yourself. You're going to be mindful and aware of the things that you're saying. You're going to be mindful of the thoughts that you're having because when you're mindful and you're aware of it, you are observing what you're saying, what you're telling yourself every day on a day-to-day basis. And then with that, you know, like you said, it's like reframing and flipping it. All it takes is you flipping. Okay, you may have slipped up and let something come out your mouth that you shouldn't have let come out your mouth. That's okay. Self-compassion has to come into play some here sometime. Just flip it. Counter it with something positive and go on about your business. Because I know with me, sometimes when I got things going on, sometimes I may need something to get done. Shoot, money may be looking funny. I'm like, how I'm gonna be able to do this? I stop myself in those moments. I'm like, girl, everything is working itself out. Everything is working itself out. Everything always comes together for me. I'm grateful. I'm in gratitude now because I know that what's meant for me, this perceived problem that I have in front of me is already working itself out. And you have to feel comfortable and be confident when you're saying these things. It's about knowing you don't know the exact steps, you don't know how it's gonna go, but you have that inner knowing that it's going to work out because you're speaking from an empowered place. And when you speak from an empowered place, you think from an empowered place. And it's like you're getting into alignment with the things that you want to see for yourself. Because it's like you said, if you was to ask probably the average person, like what it is that they desire, or what is something that they want right now that will make their life fulfilling or make them happy, they probably couldn't even tell you because you're not going within, you're not asking yourself these questions. This is critical that you talk to yourself and have an inner dialogue with yourself every day because you're the one that's with you all the time. And then like to take it back to when we was talking about, you know, our upbringing, our environment, stuff like that, failed relationship, failed jobs, or, you know, whatever. Things we perceived as failures and stuff, and we taking on those old, you know, wounds or whatever. It's like when you get to a place where you're empowered within yourself, you have a positive self-talk about yourself, you know yourself, can't nobody tell you nothing about you. because you know you look in the mirror, you see the good, the bad, the ugly, you love it all, you integrate all of you into one, and you're not ashamed of anything, and you walk in that confidence. To hear another person come to you and tell you something about yourself, whether it be criticism, judgment, anything, it does not penetrate you. It's like going in one ear and not the other. Why? Because you're rooted within yourself. And then once you go within and you're cultivating that healthy relationship with yourself, you'll see that the projections from other people are just that. They're projections. The criticism, the judgment, it's just all the negative all the negative talk is just a projection of how these people feel about themselves. And then you don't look at it from a place of, oh, I just don't want to hear it. No, you accept it because you accept it for what it is, because you know, number one, you know who you are because you do the inner work. You're with you every day. You're being mindful and aware of what you're saying or what you're thinking. So when somebody else outside of you comes up, you saying something, you know that it's an automatic projection. And it no longer penetrates you, because most people do not like themselves or love themselves, so they go around spreading their own misery. They come into your life trying to tell you about yourself, thinking they don't read you for filth, when they was just only spurring how they feel about themselves. But instead of going within themselves, they can only project that outwards because they refuse to look in the mirror itself. To criticize someone else and then not look at yourself in the mirror is crazy, because usually when the people that you see outside yourself, whether you feel like, oh, this person, they trash, they so negative, they so messy. Let's look at you. Look in that mirror. Let's unpack some skeletons in your closet. And it becomes that thing of when you have this inner self-talk, this inner dialogue, you're not afraid to face the parts of yourself that you don't necessarily like the negative self-talk. Like, I don't like, like the self-doubt that comes up, me not believing in myself, and sometimes we take it back to the past. So I just didn't feel heard or recognized or seen when I was young. It's like, okay, we're gonna acknowledge that, because we know people go through that. We have traumatic experiences that shape, certain things of how we are and how we show up in the world. But when you become an adult, when you go on that, you start doing that inner work, you don't even have room to blame nobody else, because you start walking that walk. You say, okay, I acknowledge what was, but this is a new day, and I know what I want my future to be like. So moving forward, this is how we're gonna do this thing. I'm gonna look myself in the mirror. I'm gonna say these affirmations. I'm not gonna talk, negative towards myself. And even if I do, that's okay. I still hold space for myself. I have self-compassion for myself. I'm still going to remain kind to myself, because I'm the one that has to be with me for the rest of my life. No one else outside of me will be able to validate me better than I'll be able to validate myself. So when you're walking in there, you're rooted in that. And then you may get compliments, and people gonna see the new you. And you get those compliments and stuff, but it only adds to what you already do for yourself. Because what you do when you start to have that positive self-talk, you become your own friend, your own lover, your own partner, your own motivational, your own inspiration, all of that. That's what comes with that. You're so full of it. You're whole. You're complete within self, because you know this about self. You talk to yourself. You cultivate and you maintain and you're integrating this relationship with yourself, that anything or anyone outside of you that comes in gives you a compliment, you're grateful. You thank them, but you're already rooted, because now when you hear those things, it's just a reflection of what's already going on within you. And it's another thing where, like, some people may look at you and like, oh, you're just so positive. You're so motivational. You're so motivational. I hear that a lot about myself, and I'm like, thank you. But it's like, some people do that from a place of disempowerment, because they look up to you as if like, well, she's doing something or she possesses something that I don't have, and that's far from the truth. Because whatever greatness you see in one person, that's the same greatness that is within you, but it just takes you to pull it up out of yourself. Like you said, we here, me and LJ, we here, we got the inspiration, we got the motivation, but it's still on you. What you gonna tell yourself when you turn this YouTube off? What you saying to yourself, because we can't go with you. We don't have to go. We don't have to go home with you. What are you gonna say to yourself when you behind closed doors and it's just you by yourself and you left to deal with your own thoughts? That's where the real work comes into play. And I'm seeing that a lot of people have a lot of work to do when it comes to, that department. Well, I want to encourage the people that aren't, on that path yet. When you do, it's the most empowering thing that you could ever do, because then it shows you just who you truly are, what you're capable of. It shows you how limitless you are, but you have to be open to that. You have to go on that discovery within. You got to discover these things about yourself, and not let someone else tell you who you are. Ask yourself, who am I? Who am I? Have these conversations with yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, like we said in the beginning, self-talk is a given. Like, it's a natural part of life. We're having this inner dialogue, whether you acknowledge it or not. And we're telling ourselves stories. What are the stories you're telling yourself? Oh, nobody likes me. Oh, nobody ever supports me. Tell yourself a positive story. In fact, you get to write the story. So recognize that you are the author. And I mean, we got a previous episode about that, so make sure y'all check that out too. But you are the author of your own story. What are you writing? And it's about really embracing that truth, that you have the power. This is all inside of you. You know what I mean? You are the creator of your destiny. You're the one writing your story. Life, your experiences, is the outpicturing of what's going on inside you. You are either affirming to yourself positive or negative things, and you are creating and manifesting what experiences you're encountering. That is the truth. So it's like, let's get intentional about it. Let's be on purpose about it. Let's start telling ourselves a positive story. Let's recognize you are the author of the story and start talking to yourself like you are that powerful, because you are, and it's about just stepping into it. And you can start very simple, as we said, with some simple affirmations. Look at the negative stories you've been telling yourself and flip it and go to the positive side. And really recognizing too that we're creating our future. What do you want your future to look like? And most people don't have what they want because they haven't identified clearly what they want. So it's about identifying clearly what you want. Have this conversation with yourself. Ask yourself, what do you really want? What would make you feel fulfilled? What do you want to accomplish? And once you identify those things, then you're one step closer. Then you can begin to have a positive self-talk with yourself with regards to what is necessary to get there. I believe I can have it. I believe I'm worthy of it. And this helps you to continue to manifest it. Recognizing that in every given moment, you are planting seeds and you will reap the harvest of the seeds you're sowing. What are the seeds you're sowing? What kind of harvest do you believe that you're worthy of? And I mean, scripture says to call things that be not as though they were. And that's part of what this self-talk is as well. You don't start off feeling like, oh, I'm so confident, but you start calling that forth as you begin to speak it to yourself. You're speaking it into existence. And through the consistent repetition of it, then you begin to believe it. Then you begin to feel it. Then you begin to see it. So it's this process, but you have to get started. And it's all up to you because the power lies in your hands. But it all begins with you. How are you treating yourself? How are you talking to yourself? Because you're worthy of good things. You're worthy of love. You're worthy of kindness. You're worthy of support. And you are the one who's supposed to give it to you. You know what I mean? Nobody can do it for you like you can. And nobody will. So it's important for us to recognize that because, a lot of times people come with an agenda. They're saying things and it's a projection from what's going on inside them, even sometimes when it seems like it's something nice. You know what I mean? So it's like we can't be seeking our validation from outside of us, because when the validation is not coming from outside of us, then what are we left with? We feel empty. So it's for you to fill yourself up, build yourself up, because once you feel full and whole and complete of your own accord, can't nobody touch that. They can't, because they didn't put it there. So they can't take it away. You're the one who did that. And that's where confidence comes from. Confidence is cultivated. It's not just this magic thing. Granted, some people are born with more confidence than others, but at the end of the day, confidence is cultivated. Confidence is established as you prove to yourself, yeah, look at me, I'm doing the thing. Look at me, I get up every day and I do my affirmations. Look at me every day, I'm walking my talk. You know what I mean? But it all starts with the talk. First, you got to ask yourself these questions, get clear on what you want. And then as you begin to walk it out, you begin to prove to yourself that, yeah, you're about that life. You know what I mean? And that's how you begin to feel full. You feel whole. And that's all part of loving yourself. Then you begin to look in the mirror and you love what you see, because you like, yeah, man, I'm out here in the world living this life, making it do what I want it to do. And that's what it's all about. Know that you got it. You're the key. We're all on this journey of self-discovery. So nobody has all the answers, but your self-talk is so, so significant. You have to be your biggest advocate, and you got to be your best friend. You always have a friend in you.
And there we have it, y'all. That's our time. We want to thank y'all for tuning in. Know that we're always excited to come in and have these conversations with you guys. So just like, share, comment, get this conversation, get these messages out. Someone may need to hear it. And you know, it's like we always say, whether you've been on your journey for a while or you're just beginning, there's always room for more growth and more self-discovery. So until next time, y'all have a good one.
Peace.